And we're live, I think. I hope. I'll just wait for YouTube to catch up. And in the meantime, if I am indeed live, hello everyone. Welcome. There we go. I'm live. I will try my best to keep an eye on the actual YouTube stream because the chat in StreamYard is extremely slow. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. There's a lot of you here. I've never had so many people on my stream, basically because if you didn't know that, I live on a completely different continent than most of you. I'm right now getting ready for bed. I'm kidding. It's 9 p.m. where I am. I'm in Romania in a city called Ploiești. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Alina Popescu. I should probably switch to my name so that everyone knows how that's spelled, because let's face it, pronunciation is weird for Romanian names. So yeah, this is me. I'm a fiction author, and in theory, I'm a hybrid author still, because there are some books from a former publisher still out there, but technically I'm self-published all the way. I write mystery, sci-fi, and contemporary romance, and most of my books are LGBT fiction. And I have about 30 titles out, a bit more probably. I lost count. I'm sorry. I tried to count them recently, and then I forgot how many there were. I've been publishing since 2014, so I had 6 years to amass all those titles. And because all of my published books, we're here to talk about fast drafting, because apparently I write fast. According to everyone else, I feel like I'm slow as hell, but we'll get into that. Let me just, I'll say hello to everyone because I honestly can't keep up. I got a bit overwhelmed and had a bit of a freak out before this and asked people to be moderators. Thank you guys for saving my ass. Like I said, because I stream on a very, very different schedule, when I stream, there are never this many people. And I was like, oh, there will be like a few. I'll manage the comments myself. Sky, thanks. Yeah, I do have a lot of books. I surprise myself with how many they are sometimes, because it's weird. It's weird to think I have actually that many out. I don't know why. So real quick, let's go through a few of the, organizational things. Thank you. A big thank you to the organizers of Evergreen Writing Oasis for inviting me to host this workshop, live stream, whatever you want to call it. I'm deeply honored. I never thought I should host a workshop on fast drafting. I don't know why. I do write relatively fast. But yeah, it was a huge honor. I'm really glad to be here. I've enjoyed the conference immensely so far. And the panel before me, the one on marketing, was absolutely amazing. And there is a link to the website if you want to see the rest of the schedule. There's a link to today's playlist if you want to just skip from video to video throughout the day. And there are 2 resources that I listed below, 2 books on fast drafting that I wholeheartedly recommend. The first one is 5,000 Words Per Hour by Chris Fox, and the second one is 2K to 10K, Writing Faster, Writing Better, and Writing More of What You Love by Rachel Aaron. These 2 have honestly been the best resources I ever encountered on, writing more in general. And they have something for everyone, which is why I recommend them. Now, if you know me at all, you know I don't actually believe on writing advice that applies to everyone. So my 2 main tips for you, if you want to write more or write faster, are to first try, test, fail, repeat, and test some more. And second one is to adapt everything to yourself. And I don't mean that in a general sense, adapt it to your current circumstances, which sometimes change from book to book. So let's, there will be a bit of a show and tell for this part. I will share my screen and show you some stuff. Yeah, Tamara, you're right. You did include this book as part of the writer's workshop last year. And I can't remember if I was on that workshop or not, but I did read the book before the workshop and then during that month. So it's a great resource. So now let's go back a bit in time and talk about how I got here. Just as a baseline, I normally write in sprints of 25 minutes with 5-minute breaks in between. And that's something I found worked best for me, better than 15 or 20-minute sprint. Like 25 is just great. It's easy to manage. And my output per hour is of about 1,500 to 2,000 words. So I'm not the fastest writer when it comes to actual typing. There are people who type faster. There are people who dictate and get more words done. But I do get a consistent 1,500 to 2,000 words per hour. And if you do that for 2 to 3 hours a day, you get a pretty impressive word count. So that's where I am now. When I started, it took me like 2 years to 3 years to complete my first book. On my first NaNoWriMo, I wrote 16,000 words in the whole month of November that year. So I started at a really low place and got to where I am by trying a lot of things, seeing what works for me, and adapting it. Now, everyone will tell you that in order to write faster and write more in a limited amount of time, you need to outline. And that's partly right, unless you're mostly a discovery writer, where that doesn't exactly work because you don't outline. But there is a trick to make fast drafting work even if you're a discovery writer, and that is to get to know your characters really, really well. Just think of them and what they stand for, how they behave, what their personality is, what their relationships are, what their challenges are. And if you have a really clear idea of your characters and like the most basic idea of what's going on in the book, it will still work even without outlining. I do outline some of my books, mostly the mysteries, because those are a bit more complicated, but there are other books I don't outline at all, sometimes romances, sometimes paranormal stuff, but even if I don't have a written outline, I always have a very good picture in my mind, because how my process works is I get an idea of a character or an interaction, and then I start building a story around that until I can fully see the picture of the book in my head. It's like watching a movie of these characters. And when I know where it starts, kind of what happens along the way, and where it's supposed to end, then I start writing. So a lot of times, even if I don't outline, I kind of have an idea where I'm going, and that helps. But other times, I just need a clear outline for everything that's going in a book so that I can keep track of things. Another thing I wholeheartedly recommend, which I failed to do, and Tamara can vouch for this, is to at least get a list of all the names of all the characters in your book, especially if you're going to turn that into a series, because otherwise you will be there in the middle of drafting and will have to stop to check the previous book to see exactly what the name of a character was. I once did this while I was writing the third book in a series. That was disastrous. Yes, Tamara, it's super true. I did that. It was ridiculously silly of me to do it. I still do it to this day. I have entire series where I don't have a list of names, which is ridiculous. Don't do that. By the way, everyone is bad at taking their own advice. I noticed. So, I mean, yes, a series Bible Sky is quite useful. But if you don't want to build a series Bible because you don't feel you need it, you still need a list of names for your characters and maybe a list of locations. And if that's all you need, that's fine, but at least get that. Because when you write your first book, it's very easy to remember all your characters' names, or when you have books with limited costs. But when you get into a huge thing with dozens of characters and new characters added every book, it gets overwhelming. And I can't remember all of that. I can't remember the name of my characters while writing a story, and they're the protagonists. So I just need to write them down. Now, whatever you use for that, that works. I sometimes use quite extensive character sheets, extensive for me, and I'll show you some in a minute. And other times I just have a list of names, and that's fine. It works for me. I don't have series Bibles. I have a very stripped down version of them, and the only series I did that for was my werewolf series, which never mind, I'm rewriting anyway. But the reason I did this is because there were a lot of different werewolf tribes. They all had different abilities, different structures, different organization, and there were a lot of names to remember for the alphas and the betas and, you know, important characters. So I kind of started with a series Bible. And then, by the way, that was quite interesting. I used part of it as an addendum to the book. I used kind of the general werewolf traits, a bit about the tribes, and then I had a glossary as well, because some of the words were in a specific language and they needed a glossary. So yeah, go with the series Bible if you can. If you're an impatient mess as I am, at least get a list of names, please. You'll thank yourself later for taking the time. And you can do that as you write. Like the moment you introduce a new character, just open a notepad or a OneNote or a Word document or whatever you need, your phone, and write down the name. That's the easiest way to go about it. Now, I go about it the wrong way, which is go insane when I can't remember the names and then do the list. I don't recommend it. So another thing that I've adapted, other than the stripped down series Bible that sometimes is nothing but a list of names, is my tools. And for this, I will actually share my screen with you real fast. Let me just choose the right one. There we go. Okay, so you should have my Scrivener on screen right now. Let me check in YouTube. Okay, it's working. Yay! This is how I strip down my Scrivener. As you see, I use the files that are supposed to be used for scenes as chapters, because this works for me for a reason that will become apparent quite soon. But I promised I'd show you my character sheets. I just adapted the standard Scrivener ones and just went about filling them in. This time I actually filled them out for most of my important characters, not just the two protagonists. Yeah, this helped a lot. I recommend doing it more. And as you can see, the reason why I use the chapter folder and then use the scene files as chapters is because I can see my outline in one place. Probably should hide this. Let me show you a different one that's not completely there because that's an unreleased book. Congratulations to me for spoiling everything. Hopefully nobody had time to read it. Please don't go back to read that because it will spoil the surprise. So this is how I use it. I never just go with folder chapters for each chapter, and I never divide the scenes in different files. I just use the standard 3 dots or 3 lines to separate scenes and then do something really nice with them. So pretty much the only features in Scrivener I use are the files, this lovely target count for the manuscript, and the character sheets. And that's about it. I don't even change the font at all. So this is what works for me. I don't need any other features from Scrivener except the fact that it saves really often. And that's it for me. Now, what I do pay really close attention to is what I write and when. Let me just switch this to the right screen. This is my writing tracker for June, and the reason I'm showing you June is because I wrote nothing in July, so yay. But this is how I do it. I have the date, and then I have the projects I work on, because I usually work on several at the same time. There are usually 2 main projects and 2 that I may or may not write on. And this is how I keep track of what I'm writing. It's pretty basic, but if anyone wants this tracker, I can strip it down of my specific projects and make it downloadable for you. Just let me know, and it's going to be done. And the other thing that I'm testing a lot now, because I told you, always test and adapt. I'm doing a really detailed research into fonts and how they impact your writing speed, because we all know the Comic Sans theory that it helps if you're writing Comic Sans. I kind of took this further, and I'm wondering whether sans serif fonts will lead to bigger word counts than serif fonts. And I'm going to do a very extensive research on this. I'm filming it, by the way, because why not? And if I do find that the type of font helps with my writing, I am going to just use that font forever. And that's great. Let me just take off this banner for a quick second. I'm trying to keep an eye on the comments, so if I missed any questions, please just ask them again and type question in caps before it, because I see some yes pleases there. So I will create a downloadable writing tracker for you all, and I will probably upload it on Google Docs so that you can use it either in Excel or in Google Docs, if that helps. I think different fonts can help, but I'm not sure if it's a long-term aid. I think you might switch them a lot to get great word results. But word count results, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to test it extensively, and I'm going to see if writing with a font a day is more effective than switching every sprint, and whether doing sans serif fonts first and then serif fonts after is better than the other way around, or just mixing them about. And I'll see what happens, because I always try new things. And I think that's the core message here. The more you learn about how you write, the more you can improve your entire process. Oh my God, Tamara, you're so funny. Spreadsheets are amazing. Okay, I totally believe that. And I will share it, Carol, and you can take it and improve on it. So. Because we're talking about writing trackers, you have to adapt them to your style. If you're working on just one project, it might help you to track per session word counts and then have a total at the end of the day, and pay a lot of attention to where and when writing works best for you. So over the years, I figured that it's always better for me to write in the morning. I'm way more productive. I can write in the afternoon and, in the evening. Some of you might know that I used to wake up at 3 a.m. to join Sarah's streams back when I could, like before my leg surgery, and that worked too. My word counts were lower than usual, but I did it. So through a lot of trial and error, I figured that what works for me best is writing in the morning, writing in Scrivener. Basically, it's more efficient for me than any other program because I do not have to stop and think about how many words I have in a chapter, how many words I've written in a session, and so on. I'm trying, Sarah, I swear I'm trying, but with this move, it's been kind of impossible to get my sleep under control. But hopefully when I relax, I can join you again because I miss it terribly. Some people, Camille, like, yes, some people are happier writing in the morning, but if you're an evening person, I wouldn't recommend you try to wake up early if that's not the time when you're productive. It will just make you miserable for no good reason. And I know sometimes work doesn't allow you to do what you want to do. Full disclosure, I fully work from home. My main career is writing. I have some other side gigs alongside it, but my main career and my full-time job is being an author. So that affords me a lot of freedom and time to test out things and adapt them to what works best for me. Writer Sam Wicker, that happens sometimes. So you'll see that things change. What worked once will no longer work in the future. And when it no longer works, it's time to change it. For me, sometimes that's book to book. So some books I need to write a certain way. Like I said, some need an outline, others just make it painful to write if I do outline. And I try to be aware of where I am, what my circumstances are, and what's going on with me. There was a glitch on my screen. If anything went wrong and my sound is weird or anything, please let me know because I don't exactly know what happened. But yes, like I said, things change from one project to another, and I'm trying really hard to be aware of exactly how I'm feeling and exactly what I can do in the moment, and just use that to my advantage. Like I said, I'm not the world's fastest typist. I'm not. I'm decent, but I'm not super fast. It takes me 3 to 4 hours to get 5,000 words written. Oh, which is why I rarely aim for more than 5,000 words a day, but I do try to write at least 5 days a week. And when you write at that speed or at that volume, let's say, the words pile up really fast. And if another thing is just try to figure out your perfect amount of time to spend writing before you take a break. Alice Cho, I try to do it all in one chunk, but I do take breaks between writing sessions. Like I said, I work in 25-minute sprints, and then I try to take 5 to 10 minutes break between them. But if my day does not allow for me to write in a bulk all at once, I try to have an hour or two in the morning and then another hour or two in the afternoon. And I do my best to get the 2 hours in the morning done because everything that follows might go off the rails. But preferably, like, if I go with what works best for me, I just dedicate 2 to 3 hours to writing. I get it done then, and then I move on to something else. But there are times when something just works and you want to keep doing it, and that's a moment when you should try to do that. For example, the day before that, in the evening, I started editing a book, which I kind of showed you the entire outline by mistake. That book has been sitting on my computer for 2 years. It was finished. I never edited it because I was super upset about not finding the right model for the cover, which is a problem. By the way, pro tip, if you write really uncommon types of characters, finding a cover that works for you will be very, very difficult. So if you ever want to write a medieval type story, maybe don't make all your characters clean shaven, because most of the stock photos are not. And maybe do not create a character who likes to braid his long blonde tresses and add jewels to it. Yeah. Author problems. So wait, I have some other questions here. With fast drafting, how do you avoid burnout? I only had major burnout once, when I didn't write for 6 months. And what I learned from that experience was to get to the core of things and see what exactly drove me to the burnout. It was basically a lot of stress that had to do with my author career at that point. I was still with my former publisher before everything went awry, and it was a very, very stressful period. I was doing marketing for them as well and promoting books from other authors from that publisher. And whenever they had questions, they'd come to me and not the publisher themselves. So it was a really stressful period. I did not want to submit more books to this publisher. I didn't know what I wanted to do in the future. And because I was so stressed out, I stopped writing for 6 months. The way I got over that, I started on January 1st the next year. This was 2017. And I decided I was going to write every day. I didn't care if it was 1 word, 10 words, or 10,000 words. I was going to write every day. And I did that for about a month and a half. That worked then. But overall, since then, what worked best for me was to really manage my stress and not push myself when I just couldn't do it. And in 2018, I broke my leg. I had surgery. I couldn't walk for a long time, so I lost a lot of muscle mass, and then I did a lot of physical therapy. So throughout that period, I was exhausted all the time, and I couldn't really write. And instead of stressing about it, I just accepted things as they were. And whenever I could find half an hour where my brain worked, I'd write. But I feel like most times the reasons that drive you to a burnout are unique to that situation, and as long as you're super aware of what's going on with you and trying to manage everything and get ahead of a situation, you can prevent a burnout, which I think is easier to do than to get out of it when you're in full burnout mode. And it also helps, like in my case, it helps that I have a lot of ideas. And if I feel burned out and don't want to work on a certain project, I can just switch to another one that's just for fun and do that. Okay, there was another question. I'm trying to find it. I should go to StreamYard and see if it updated so that I can post this on screen. I'm sorry. I should be better at this. Do you have multiple projects being drafted at once? So if you don't know what comes next in one book, you work on the other? Yes. I'm not sure if you were here earlier, but I will show this again. Let me just get the right spreadsheet and share the screen again, because this is the easiest way to see it. Like you can see on my screen, I have like 4 going on right now. It's a bit insane, but these first 2 were the ones I was actively working on in the month of June, and these 2 were like, if I have time, I'll work on them. And as you can see, sorry, for the 4th one, I managed to get like 3,000 words. So this is how it usually goes. I don't always work on multiple projects at the same time. Sometimes I just focus on one, and that's usually because there's a deadline approaching. Now, there are healthy ways to get yourself to write more, and then there are unhealthy ways to get yourself to write more, like a pending pre-order that you need to upload your files for on time. That usually sets a nice little fire under my ass, and I start writing really fast. So yes, that works. Lisa, I had the same issue for a while because I used new projects, to distract myself from my current one and procrastinate by working on a different project. Right now, I try to prioritize. I know which is the most urgent one to finish, and then the second one, and I allot time based on that. So let's say in June, I had the werewolf book. The WW1 was not a World War I book, it's a werewolf book. So that was the most important book for me that month. So I allotted my 2 hours of writing in the morning to it. And then in the afternoon, I would write on other projects. 6 feet apart, the first one I had listed there was actually a co-writing project. So I only wrote 1 chapter a day. That's roughly 1,500 words. So that was really easy for me to get written later in the afternoon because I didn't have to think about it much. I got the chapter from my partner who was writing her chapter, and I got all the inspiration I needed to jump right into mine. So I left that sometimes for the afternoon when I don't do that great at writing because I was so excited for my first co-writing project, so that helped. But then I do have 2 or 3 more projects that are just there in my mind, and I only write on those after I'm done with what's urgent. And that's how I got over my whole procrastination thing, and I avoided not writing at all because I couldn't write on what I wanted. So but that's quite personal. I feel like if it doesn't work for you, if working on multiple projects makes everything slower, you shouldn't try it. Like I said, everything is quite personal when it comes to writing. What works for me won't work for the next person, and what works for me today won't work for me next month. So just adapt it. Carol, yes, I'll definitely create a blank sheet for that, and I'll just throw in the per sprint tracking in a different sheet in the spreadsheet, and then you can just pick whatever works for you and play with it. Who's the chibi? What's the chibi? What did I miss? I'm trying so hard to keep an eye on the chat, but it's going quite fast, and it just jumps at me in StreamYard. But if I keep an eye on the YouTube stream, then I can't do stuff like share my screen. So yes. Let's see. Did I lose anything? There's another question. Do you find it easier to work with a partner on a book or by yourself writing it in its entirety? I only co-wrote 1 book, and that was 6 feet apart. It went by super, super fast. I wrote it with my friend and editor. Her name is Lindsay Fitzpatrick, and she writes LGBT fiction under A.L. Bates. We started talking about this like 3 months ago, and then we started working on the actual book 2 months ago, and it worked really well for us. It just inspired us to write faster and more, and I think we got the first draft in like 3 weeks. It's a 30,000 word novella, so it wasn't extremely long, but it still went really fast, given that we were both working on different projects as well. So for me, co-writing worked like a charm, but I still enjoy doing my own thing and writing my own thing, and each has its benefits. Co-writing, if you find a good writing partner, it's easier to get inspiration and get ideas and brainstorm, and it generally goes by faster. But then when you write your own books, you get to just explore everything, create your own schedule. If you want to write more, you'll just write more. Sorry for the lighting change. Let me just fix that real quick. That's my Flux app, which starts randomly. Let's see, there were some more questions. There we go. What is your editing process like after you fast draft? So the thing I forgot to say and was going to say is that the reason why I can produce books so fast is that my first drafts are relatively clean. So when I'm done with the first draft, and that's not just a personal assessment, that's what I gathered after I talked to my editors a lot. So after I finish my first draft, I usually do one edit and then send it to my editor. And then they go through it once, they send me their feedback, I respond to their feedback, and if there's anything else to fix, after that we do a second run, but that's it. After that, it's just proofreading and off we go. I've rarely had huge developmental edits. I think the biggest thing was my editor, Lindsay, who's also my co-writer. She once asked me to just completely remove a chapter because it made no sense. And I completely agreed with her. We removed it and the book worked. That was the most difficult edit I ever did. Of course, there are things I have to rewrite or clarify or remove, but usually from the moment I finish drafting to the moment I send it to my editor, there's only one round of edits that goes on my side, and maybe a proofread just to try and remove all the funny typos, because my editor has a top of funniest typos ever, and I got tired of being number 1, 2, and 3 all the time. So I was trying to do a proofread before, and I caught some, but I still never managed to quite make it out of the funniest typos ever top. So that's how it goes for me. Oh, sorry, before I move into this, one more thing about drafting. That is a more recent development. It wasn't that easy for my first books. This just came with time and experience. It didn't happen overnight that I produced cleaner drafts. Nothing really happens overnight. Let's see, next question. How do you incorporate outlining word building with drafting? Do you count it as a project in its own? No. I track it as a separate project in my time management app. I use, let me show you. You might know this. I use the Demon app. It's this one, which I was supposed to start during this stream so that I know when I should wind down and get ready to wrap things up. I forgot, but I use this, and let me just go into project and go into the, so I'm not sure how clear this will be. I'll add the screenshot somewhere. This is all my author business stuff. So I have separate projects for formatting, editing, book covers, marketing, things like that. And you will see that there's an outlining there. I track them differently in my time management app, but I don't consider them a different project. Like I showed you earlier, and I will show you again, if you just give me a second to reset it up so that I at least cover half of my books. Let me share the screen again. That's the right one. So this is, come on. Let's give StreamYard the moment and hope it doesn't crash. Oh, wow. Okay, so apparently I'm still on stream, but StreamYard is totally frozen. And I'm trying to fix it, but not sure I can. Okay, so I'm still there, but the screen isn't sharing, which that's awesome. I'm trying to have StreamYard recover, but it's not exactly working. And I'm trying to find a way not to stop the stream. Okay, I'll just try to talk over this and give it a few seconds and hope it sorts itself out. Or everything else crashes. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Okay, hopefully I'm still here. Apparently there are a lot of Alinas currently on stream. Sorry about that. I'll try sharing the screen again and hope everything doesn't crash. Yeah, that was unfortunate. There we go. It's working now. Oh my God. Yes, this is the amount of outlining I do. So a couple of phrases per chapter, of sentences per chapter. Yeah, this is great for the bingo. I wear red lipstick. I let Ares roam free. So yeah, here he is. If you're checking that for your bingo, so it's all good. I started with we're live, which I always do. So yes, this is the amount of outlining I do. A few sentences per chapter, nothing more, because this is like all it takes for me to figure it out. I hope that answers your question. I'm trying to find whatever other questions I missed. Okay, so this one is a question about editing, which I kind of already touched upon. I do one pass myself after I finish the first draft. Then I do 1 to 2 passes with my editor. Then I do a proofread. So that's my process so far. Next question, how do you manage to get a good draft the first time around? I don't really edit while drafting. What has worked for me in the past is to figure out my characters from the start, figure out their motivations, their conflicts, and pretty much what they want and need in life. And because of that happening, I stopped having a lot of issues with characters not wanting to do what I wanted them to do, because I created a certain type of personality and then I wanted them to do something that was completely against who they were. So that's one thing. And the other is outlining a bit, either doing it in Scrivener like I showed you, or just giving it time to settle in my mind until I have a very clear idea of where I start, which points and events I need to hit around along the way so that I can get to the ending I want, basically. And then it takes a lot of practice. I've learned a lot from all the editors I've worked with. I've learned a lot from my own process of writing and then editing my own writing, and it just became a lot easier over time to just get a cleaner draft because I have a better idea of what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing most of the time, but I have a slightly better idea now. So that's what works for me. I'm trying to see what other questions I missed while this beautiful stream decided to, stop working. What would you recommend for visually impaired writers to produce cleaner drafts? I have no idea. I guess the same process would work. Just know your characters and figure out what you want to do with your story. And then, because that's what matters. If you don't have to do really heavy developmental edits, everything else like fixing grammar and typos and things like that, that's a lot easier. What is difficult in terms of editing is just changing around your story, your plot line, and recreating your characters. Everything else, I think, is easier to fix, like typos and minor issues with the story. Those aren't that hard to catch. The forest app, the one that you grow trees in, I use that. I don't like it because it doesn't scream at me like the evil productivity app that I'm using, and I need that. The name of the app, I'll tell you exactly. It's Productivity Challenge Timer. And I have the paid version. I used the free version for a while, and then I got the paid one because I just wanted more projects. I've never once regretted buying the full version. But whatever daemon app or non-daemon app you're using, as long as it works for you, it's all good. For the bingo, there's a link in the description of this live stream with the bingo thingy. It's just something we play with the online retreat because it's for funsies, as Tamara said, and I just copied her statement. Okay, did I miss any other questions? I don't think so. Okay, and of course, Sky has been doing a wonderful job, and she's already given you the name of the app and the link to the bingo thingy, which is great. Thank you, Sky. Sorry, like I said, StreamYard is a bit slow for me with comments, and I'm trying to stick to StreamYard so that maybe it doesn't mess up again. I see it already cut camera quality for me, so yay. Tamara says she has both the Forest and the Demon app. And yeah, they're both super helpful. Also, I put a comment on screen and then stop. I don't really edit while I'm drafting because then I'll never finish. But what I do is when I haven't worked on a project for a long time, I do read back the final chapter I wrote the other time so that I can refresh my mind. But if it's been longer than, a week. Sometimes I will need to read through everything, and then I do some light edits. That's the only time I edit while drafting. Okay, any more questions that I have? I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did miss anything, please let me know, or I'll just go back through the stream chat and reply in the actual comments to this. The Demon app is quite demonic. It doesn't have an off button, so it doesn't care that you have weekends or issues or just need a break. It deranks you immediately if you don't work enough every day. It's made to push you to work more. It's not the healthiest app, especially if you're super competitive like me and you don't like to be demoted. But you learn to work with it. But if you're like me and you need a lot of shame and peer pressure generally to get things done, this thing screaming at you to start working will be just fine. No off button, I mean, you can't pause it for a few days and have it not track your lack of work. That's what I meant. It has an off button, you can stop working, of course. Sorry if I wasn't being super clear about that. It just doesn't care about weekends and breaks. That's all. You can take the break, of course, but it will demote you if you don't work enough on a Sunday, for example. So yeah. Hannah, good luck with that. Apparently, Sky wants a cape. I want one too. I know someone who makes amazing capes. Her name is Kitty. She's here on YouTube. She has an art channel. So there's that. Okay, so yeah, that's the app. You can find it on Google Play. I'm not sure if it's on iPhone. I think it is. It's an indie app, and I appreciate indie apps. Probably why I bought it, because we indies need to stick together. Okay, we've got like 8 minutes to go, and I think I'm caught up with the questions. I'm pretty sure that I've said this now, and I probably missed like a bunch. It's fine. If I did, please forgive me. I'm trying to think whether I covered everything I wanted to. I got kind of interrupted there by the whole mess with the crash. But yeah, just to recap, my top advice to draft fast is to learn to adapt and keep trying new things. Keep testing things you want to test, and then see if they apply to you. And if they do, yeah. Sorry, I missed a question apparently. Thank you, Sky. So you're right with the word count in mind and not scene by scene. Yeah, I pretty much set up word count goals, because usually my word count goals mean 2 to 3 chapters. I go for shorter chapters recently. That's a recent development. I try to stick to max 1,500 words. So it's, in quicker installments, and it encourages binge reading. So I know that if I set a 3,000 word goal for a day, that means about 2 chapters. And I know about how many chapters I want in a book and how many words, and that works for me. It's easier. Plus, if, let's say, I have books with varying lengths for scenes and chapters, then I don't have to worry about, readapting goals, especially if I work on multiple projects at once. But again, that's a personal preference. I also set crazy goals. Like, my goals look like 3 humans need to work on those to finish them in a month. But setting realistic goals doesn't work for me, because then I do less than I normally do. So, whatever helps. Like I said, some things sound super crazy and unhelpful, because who wants to, have 20 goals and finish 5 at the end of the month? For some people, that's disappointing and annoying. for me, I know that that's how it works, and this is why I use the Demon app, because if I feel like I haven't done enough of my goals, I can go back and look at all the hours I worked and feel better, because that it's usually a lot. Another question. Before that, Carol, thank you for the doggo love. I thought people should have him around for the bingo, so I can't send him anywhere else because he refuses, especially when I'm streaming. How do you figure out how many chapters, words a book will be? I usually have a general idea of what I want from a book. So I know my mysteries range between 40 and 50K. They're typically shorter. I know my novellas are around 30 to 40K, and I know my paranormal romance and fantasies range from 60 to 75,000 words. That's how it worked for me so far, and it's something I developed in time. I always go over word count. That's another thing. Like I can schedule 40,000 words for a book and end it at 48,000, which is fine, but it gives me kind of a basic idea of how long it will take for me to finish that book, based on how long I want it to be and how much I write every day. It should make things easy to plan, but it's not always like that, because life happens, and then I freak out and have to write, like, I don't know, 40,000 words in 2 weeks, which I did before. It wasn't pretty. I wouldn't recommend it. Let's see. Do you ever have anyone read your drafted chapters, or do you hold off on feedback until the entire thing is finished? I mean, typically I just draft it and then send it to other people to read or edit. But if I'm running behind, then whatever chapters I have finished, I'll pass on for edits and work on the rest. That hasn't happened a lot. The only time where I had someone else review my chapters as soon as I wrote them was when I was co-writing 6 Feet Apart. And that was a very interesting experience. But because we were reading and reviewing and editing each other's chapters, then when we got into edits, those went by really fast. So it helped overall. Another question. This will be the final one I take, because we should wrap up soon. But if you have any more, please feel free to ask them in the comment section or contact me on Facebook. You can always message me and I'll do my best to reply. Do you have beta readers, or do you just send to the editor and proofreaders? I no longer have beta readers. I had them in the beginning. Right now, it's just me and then my first round of edits and then my editor. But this took me like 20 books to get there. I think by book 20, I had completely stopped doing any sort of beta reading. I do discuss the overall storyline and plot with fellow authors, so it's a bit of a critique, but that's about it. As there's just one more question, I'm going to take this one and then wrap up. How long do your chapters usually end up being? And are they broken down into scenes? I try right now to keep them under 1,500 words. I've had longer, like 3K for mostly the paranormal stuff, but now I'm actively trying to keep them all shorter. It makes me more aware of how I end them and how I get people to read the next chapter, and I like that very much. Yes, I do sometimes break them down into scenes if I need to. If there's an entire chapter about, I don't know, a scene that's important, so yeah, I'm not gonna break it apart. And there are scenes that go over multiple chapters because they're that long, but that's rare as well. Okay, I'm going to check YouTube real fast, but yeah, it seems like those are all the questions I had lined up. We're running really late, so I'll do a quick outro. Before that, let you know that the next panel will be the outlining and drafting panel. It's on Tamara Woods' channel, but if you're watching through the playlist, it will just move on to that panel right away. My name is, again, Alina Popescu. I'm a fiction writer. I write mystery, paranormal and sci-fi, and contemporary romance, well, fantasy and sci-fi. And I'm really passionate about finding ways to draft faster and work more efficiently. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. It's been lovely chatting to you all. And again, if I missed any questions, I apologize. If you have more questions, feel free to ask them on any social media. And I will try to get the writing tracker uploaded tomorrow, and then I will share it in the link of this, in the description of this live stream, and also share it wherever I can on social media. Thank you on the new subscriptions. I'm so glad to have you all here. Thank you, Sarah, for pointing out how many there are. It's overwhelming. Thank you so much. And thanks again to the organizers of this wonderful online retreat for having me. And I hope they organize more in the future, because this has been absolutely fantastic. Have a great rest of the afternoon, I guess, for you. And if there's anyone else on my continent, have a great evening and enjoy the rest of the conference. I survived this. Thank you, everyone. Bye.